The camp building community in Fallout 76 is quite simply incredible, and I'm fortunate enough through the top 5 camp competition to see some of the amazing creations that these guys put together. Now, Bethesda has very kindly asked me to share with you my favourite camps that I've seen this year, and in this video that is exactly what we're going to do. I've tried to get a mixture of immersive camps, vehicles, modern builds, and pretty much everything in between. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, here's my 10 favourite camps of 2023. Okay then, so here goes. The first camp I want to show you is by Piuy, and it is this absolutely amazing cathedral. Like, honestly, I still don't know to this day how we managed to put this together. In my opinion, it's one of the best replicas of a real-life building I've ever seen in the game. It's actually based on a church in Reykjavik, I do believe, and it's called the Hallsgrim Gurja. Yeah, I apologise for butchering that. Poorly pronounced names aside though, I think we can all agree that this is an absolutely fantastic looking camp. It's also a technical one as well. All those stone walls you see, they aren't, wall pieces that snap in place. They are just defensive walls. Piuy has placed them all individually, and again, I'm still amazed how he's managed to create something like this. Piuy, quite simply, this build is a masterpiece. The way you've put it together, how symmetrical it is, how tidy it is. I don't think anybody's going to be able to replicate this or do anything close to it. Piuy, you killed it with this one, my friend. Now, this next camp I'm going to show you is the Billboard Abode by Moonlight Cowboy, and much like Piuy's, this is a proper labour of love. It must have took Cowboy hours upon hours to throw this thing together. Now I get it, some of you may be thinking, come on TNG, it's a billboard. How difficult can that be to, build? Well, believe it or not, there is a heck of a lot that's gone into this. For example, the post that's actually holding the billboard up, that's made up of, I can't remember how many exactly, but there is a lot of individual stair posts that have been put together to create that effect. And the fact that he's managed to get them down in a circle as well, so neatly and so precisely. Yeah, it is really, really impressive. That bit alone would have me smashing my head against my desk repeatedly. Yeah, you wouldn't catch me doing that. Overall, I thought this camp was stunning, from a visual standpoint and from a technical one as well. The guy could have gone out and just found a billboard in the wasteland and built around that, but he's not. He's created this. And to top it off, he's even got a living space up top. You can't complain about that, can you? Oh, now remember this one? We're stepping into the immersive side of things. This is the Nuclear Noodles camp by Radrux. And I remember the first time I saw this, right, and I thought, this looks like something out of Diamond City. Now, I don't know if it's because it's, noodle themed with a noodle robot guy, but it just gave me them vibes. I love the ramshackled exterior on this thing, the mixture of textures that Radrux used, how bright it is as well. It just really made it stand out to me. Now, as well as it looking pretty sweet, there is quite a few tricky aspects to it. I can't remember if this is before the bar pieces got fettled with or after, but either way, using them bar pieces to make a structure, it can be quite tricky. More so now than it was, but yeah. This is still, by far and away, one of my favourite builds of all time. Everything from the decor, even to the way it's filmed, was absolutely outstanding. Radrux, 10 out of 10 on this one from me. Up next, we have this fantastic build by one of the best vehicle builders in the 76 community. This is the Vertibird by Nux Black Thumb. And you know what? I'm going to be straight up honest with you now. I wish I could give you some insight as to how this thing's been built, but I still can't get my head around it. There is so many complex building tricks going on. It is hard to, figure out what's happening and how certain things have been done. Obviously, there's been a load of merges done on it. Quite simply, it'd be impossible to make it without them. There's also some other stuff in there that made the game's building system scream at Nux for mercy. But the most impressive thing for me about this is the planning. It's just so creative. Like, how did he know what item would work for what? The propellers, for example, or the jukeboxes he's got at the front. A lot of time and a lot of thought went into this even before he started building, and it's just sheer madness. It is truly one of the most impressive builds I've ever seen this. And it's one of the few builds I've not seen replicated either. Now, whether that's because it is so difficult or because people, value the mental faculties, who knows? All I know is, Nux, you smashed this one out of the park, my friend. Hats off to you, mate. Right, so this one is a rather magical build, and I mean that quite literally. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Diagon Alley build by Chez 79. Now, if you like me and you're a massive fan of Harry Potter, right, this will be instantly recognisable to you. Even the entranceway should be familiar to a lot of you. And that's just the start of it. I mean, guys, take a look at the street on it. We've got all the famous recognisable Harry Potter stores. There's Iwop's Ale Emporium on your left there. On the other side, we've got quality Quidditch supplies. And then, of course, we've got the legendary Gringotts Bank right up in front of you. Now, yes, we are missing a dragon bursting out at top of it in a mad bid for freedom, but Chez has managed to get the wonkiness into it as well. And again, if you've read the books, if you've seen the films, you'll know exactly what I'm on about. Streetscapes like this, they're not a build that you see often in 76, so when you do come across them, yeah, it's a nice thing to see, especially ones that are so well built and have a theme around them. I'm a massive fan of this build, these builds in general, to be honest with you. I've never seen another Harry Potter one, and I think Chez has done a stellar job at replicating Diagon Alley. It just draws you in. It feels like you're in a street, and yeah, I can't complain about this one at all. Coming up next, we have the 70s style villa by Alex P, and I can feel the shag carpet and mirrors on the ceiling from here. This thing is... it's certainly something, isn't it? Quite obviously, it is a modern Star Wars, guys, but it is literally one of the most complicated ones I have ever seen. I mean, we've got more angles here than trigonometry, haven't we? But I think it looks awesome. Definitely stands out, and it is 100% unique. This is another one of those camps that, as well as looking really good, it is very complicated as well. With this one, it's slightly more obvious. You can see the difficulty in it, if that makes any sense. So I will try and go through some of the more tricky parts with you, and we'll start off by the mad angles in it, because, yeah, it's the most obvious part of it. Now, you can do this a number of ways. You can free place the walls. You can use a foundation if you line it up properly. But that is the key bit. Getting it all to flow and look consistent, it's not easy. Believe me when I say that. As well as that, we've obviously got the quarter windows that Alex has made there. Now, I'm not actually too familiar of the technique used behind that, but I think we can all agree, if it looks complicated, 9 times out of 10 it is. Especially with this game's unique building system. Honestly, guys, there is so much to this build, more than I can go through in the short time that I have with it. But at the end of the day, it is visually stunning, and like I say, it's complicated as well. You got to give props to Alex for having the patience to build this. Now we're stepping back into the nitty-gritty of the wasteland, the builds that, you know, really draw you into the game. And this one by Daehla definitely falls into that category. I think my favourite part about this one was the crane. Now, I've seen loads of these in Fallout 76, literally too many to count. I think it was Cover that first started messing around with this kind of design. However, while this may not be the biggest or most technically complicated crane that I've ever seen built in the game, it works perfectly for this build. If you take a look at the camp location that Daehla chose, which is an excellent choice by the way, you don't see too many people in the ash heap, there is literally a load of single wide trailers behind it. So the idea for the build was, you know, another trailer being lifted up the cliff for the miners to live in. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't think they'd bring in skyscraper-sized cranes to, you know, lift a trailer up. So yeah, it fits in with the build is what I'm trying to tell you. Now, couple up the crane with this beautifully decorated prefab trailer, and you've got yourself one of the most immersive camps I have ever seen in the game. I can't explain to you how well that decor has been done. A lot of you may be thinking, TNG, it's just rubbish scattered around on the floor. But I've said this time and time again, to get it looking right, like somebody's placed it there, it is not easy. You'd think that all the super modern clean builds would be harder to decorate than scrappy and law-friendly stuff. But in my opinion, it just isn't. Making something look like a pensioner's mantelpiece is, believe it or not, way more difficult than making something uber clean. Daehla did a proper job with this, and yeah, in my opinion, it's definitely up there with the best. Camp number 8, we have a build that is quite literally fire. And that phrase is quite literally something a man of my age shouldn't be saying, but anyhow, we're just going to move on and pretend we didn't hear it. This camp right here is the fire truck build by Hitbit, and I don't think I've seen a more realistic vehicle build in 76. And again, I don't think I have to explain to you how much work this must have taken. It's phenomenal, isn't it? It looks like a fire truck. In fact, when I showed this in top 5, somebody actually commented saying, I didn't know there were fire trucks with working lights in the game. Aye, at first glance, it would fool you. Not only did Hitbit do an incredible job with the rig itself, the house that he put together as well, that actually blends in with the area pretty darn well. And it does have a pretty cool trick too. You can turn the fires off with a flick of a switch. I think he's done that using springboard traps, but I could be wrong. Please don't quote me on that one. By far and away, this is one of the most convincing vehicle builds I've ever seen in the game. I mean, obviously, not compared to one of the prefab trucks, but you get what I'm saying, don't you? Ones that are from the ground up, 100%, player built. I will say though, 8-Bit has done loads of incredible vehicle builds. He's a lot like Nux Black Thumb. I'm sure Bethesda are going to leave links to their channels down in the description. So yeah, please feel free to go and check them out. You won't be disappointed, trust me on that one. So our next build is by Fuzz, and I've chose this one to show you guys what you can do with pre-existing locations. There is so many of them across the map, and they literally range from anything. You can build in a cave, you can build inside of an old house. There is so many options. Now, yes, of course, some are more difficult than others to build in, and this one that Fuzz has chosen here, that's in the Cranberry Bog, is quite a difficult place to put a camp down. However, with a little bit of work, with a little bit of ingenuity, you can create something like this. It's all about practice, guys, and a little bit of forward planning. I think Fuzz has done an excellent job with this location. The way he's incorporated his camps into the logs, it's really well done. You could be forgiven for thinking that the camp itself is a pre-existing location too. It's just really well put together. It's also a perfect example of the power of decorating. There isn't actually too much to Fuzzy's camp. The majority of what you're seeing here is just decoration. It's not actual structure, but that's what makes it pop. In my opinion, this is one of the best decorated camps that I've ever had the pleasure of seeing. You did a really solid job on this one, Fuzzbrain. Alright then, so now we come to our final camp, and I'm going to leave you with another streetscape. This one is by Lady H, and you all know what it is, don't you? Ah, of course you do. Sesame Street, innit? Cards on table now, right? There's a running joke on my channel that I have never seen any film, any TV series, and I'm quite ignorant of anything television, really. However, contrary to popular belief, we do actually have electricity and internet in the north of England, so I did manage to pull up some Google images, and it's a pretty bang-on replica. As I said with Chez's Diagon Alley build, streetscapes are not something you see a lot of. So when you do come across fantastic looking ones like this, a guy's got to pay attention to it. It's a beautifully well put together camp, and the way that Lady H has managed to, mirror the Sesame Street set is quite an achievement. I think we can all agree that you do have to bend the rules when making camps in 76 every now and again. You got to use creative tricks to get the job done sometimes, and that does make building, real life structures quite a challenge. However, Lady H has pulled it off, and quite frankly, she's made it look easy, hasn't she? I love this build, Lady H, and I'm hoping that some of you guys watching are inspired to build more city and streetscapes. We do need more of them. And with that, guys, that is it from me. I'd like to say a massive thank you to Bethesda for having me on the channel, but I'd also like to say a massive thank you on behalf of the builders that have been featured too. A lot of these guys are building camps day in, day out, and some of the stuff they come up with, as you can see, it's absolutely mind-blowing. So it is nice to be able to show them to a much larger audience than I ever possibly could over on my channel. So again, thank you so much for this opportunity, Bethesda. I love this game, and the reason that I keep coming back to it is because of the camp building community. I know a lot of people don't tend to delve into it because it can be a little bit intimidating, but I urge every single one of you to just give it a go and see what you come up with. And don't be afraid to ask some of the builders for advice as well. Seriously, the building community, and genuinely, straight from the heart this, they are some of the nicest people and one of the best, if not the best community out of any game that I've ever played. Again, thank you very much, Bethesda, for having me on the channel, and thank you to all the builders for letting us show these. I'm TNG, and as we say in the north, I'll love you and leave you, and I'll catch you next one.